Alright, so I got back from Flite Fest, finally got things cleared up now so I can work back on the giant Storch. Wings are down here in the shop, but the fuselage doesn't exactly fit down here. There are already plenty of planes filling up space down here, so the fuselage is out in the garage. But what I have here are new props. So there's two 18s and a 19-inch prop. They're from HobbyKing. So an 18.8, a 19.10, and a 18.10, which should help with the motor to make that not overheat. And got another Turnigy Aerodrive motor, same motor as last time, because it seemed to have enough power. Just gonna try a smaller prop to help with that issue. And then this is the Aerodrive 5055, the 280 kV. It's kind of dark, but so there's that. Just gonna mount the prop on this side of it with the threaded adapter. So we're gonna get the motor, the parts on that. I'm gonna start with the 18.8 prop, I believe, and then see how that one works, measure how much current the motor's drawing, and then see how much stress we have and go from there. And then just charging the batteries over here so we can test it out. They're 6L 3300s in parallel, so I got a 6L 6600. I have plenty of these 4-cell 6600s, which were at Flite Fest a couple years ago for like 2 for $15, but those work on my Big Bloody Wonder, but not quite enough for the Storch, and I couldn't find any 8-cell ESCs that I wanted to spend the money on, because this motor is $40 and the ESC is also $40, which makes it not too bad to buy another motor. So we're gonna go put that motor on and then run it up and try that out. So I got new motor with a 18x8 prop on there. Old motor's off. Dad's got the elevator and the rudder right there, and here's the other one as well. The only thing that got broken when it actually kind of crashed was one of these uprights on the landing gear, and then the 3D printed piece down here, which joins all three of those and holds the axle for the wheels, which these are just 6-inch inflatable wheels from, I believe they're from Horizon Hobby. And we added some stiffeners here, which really helps eliminate any flex in the wooden dowels there. So the next step will be getting the motor on there and reinstalling the electronics, which all go underneath here. Just have to put the ESC and receiver back in, and then should be able to test it out and see what kind of current draw we have with the new prop, and just make sure it's not too high and nothing's getting too hot, and then we'll take it up for a flight once that's ready. So gonna grab those electronics and then be right back. All right, so I've got a receiver pulled out of another plane for this one, and then our 80 amp 6-cell capable ESC there, and then the BEC is in the fuselage still. So what I have here is added a servo extension to the ESC and just cut the power wire off of that, so we're only getting the 5-volt power to the receiver from the BEC, which is on a separate 3-cell 2200 battery. And then I've also got an FrSky, maybe we'll focus here, an FrSky telemetry module for battery voltage. So I just have an extension on there, so it's a little bit easier to get to the battery, and this plugs into the receiver so I can get it on my X9D. And then that also has an OLED screen with it reads the cell voltage out to you, which is really nice, especially since with this one, once you get it ready to fly, it usually takes a little bit because it's so big to move around. So got all the parts ready, gonna bring the wings up from downstairs and put everything on. And there's the wings from downstairs. All right, we put it together. Now we're ready.
So what are you doing?
Gonna remaiden the Storch. So new motor and smaller prop, which should help. And then otherwise it's all the same. And we just fixed the landing gear from the landing in the beams. So hopefully this one should be uneventful and it should work fine. And have enough power with a little bit smaller prop.
All right, let's see it fly.
All right, taking off.
Whoa.
So got a 5-minute flight out of it. Battery is still only about halfway, but still broke the landing gear landing it. It was just a little bit harder in the grass because just kind of plopped it down on the mains a little bit, but otherwise everything else is fine. So just new dowels and it'll be able to go for another flight. And this time the motor with a smaller prop is warm but not overly hot, and the motor's still fine. Battery's only at halfway, and with this prop it's only pulling 40 amps, which should be good for both the motor and the ESC. That way we don't burn any of those up again. So new dowels, and it should be able to be ready to fly in just another day or two. Here's a close-up of this part here. So not too bad. The printed piece didn't break this time, which it broke the last flight. It just broke the dowel and all three of them. But otherwise, everything else is fine. It was just a one wheel. And that's that. So the motor's still warm, but not really any warmer than last time, and we're drawing about the same amount of power from the battery. So I think we're gonna probably go back to the 18.8 prop. It'd be nice to have a little bit more power, but we do also have an 1810, so we'll probably try that just at home to see how much thrust we're getting and get a weight on the plane. Otherwise, first successful flight without breaking anything, so that's good. And now we can fly it again. So maybe a little bit bigger batteries would be nice to get a little bit more flight time, but for now it's working really well. So after the flight test video of my giant Storch at Flite Fest, quite a few people were asking in the comments section like what happened with it and kind of wondering follow-up about that. So I figured I'd create this video just talking about what actually happened at Flite Fest with the flight, and then showing a recap of another successful flight. So what happened when we made it at Flite Fest is it took off great and flew fine for a couple minutes, but then the motor burnt out. There was a lot of resistance in it, and after just asking around a lot and for different people, the consensus is that somehow it got burnt up and probably a short inside of it. We got a new motor from HobbyKing and got that on the plane. It's the Aerodrive 5055 280 kV. The first flight in this video, it kind of stalled on the landing. I got a little too slow, so it just kind of, and then it kind of stalled, added more power, but then it didn't pull up, so it just kind of plowed into the ground a little bit there. And the 3 dowels broke, but that was an easy enough fix. None of the 3D printed parts broke this time because at Flite Fest 2 of the 3D printed parts broke along with the dowel. But just a matter of swapping out those 3 dowels, and then we were able to get it up for another flight that was earlier today. And then it still didn't have a ton of power, but otherwise it flew fine. I was happy with the good landing. This was our 3rd time at Flite Fest and kind of our 2nd big build project. Our first one was an 8-foot Bloody Wonder, which we flew in combat a couple years. And then the Storch was our 2nd kind of giant build, which was a lot of fun. The overall weight of the plane, we weighed it today and it came out to 21.6 pounds, which is right about where we were thinking for the weight of the plane. And it's not terrible. The wings could definitely be lighter. We're thinking of having another big plane for Flite Fest next year, but be able to fly it, mate in it before Flite Fest to make sure everything's working well. And there'll be videos coming on that at some point here. So to see any future flying videos or other big projects of ours, you can just go ahead and subscribe down below and throw a like on the video. And if you haven't already seen the flight test video on the mate-in of our plane, you can go ahead and check it out right here. But otherwise, thanks for watching the video, and see you later.